Welcome to Brothers-In-Flaw Sports. And before we start, we have a special announcement. We have found him. He is back. And so are we. It's been a long time, but there is a hell of a lot of news. But before we start, Kunyata, how you doing?
Doing all right, man. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good. Santana?
Yo, I was wondering what just happened. I was like, was my internet go out? Why did I get kicked out of this thing? That was good though. Yeah, here I am, and hopefully that we keep this going. I want to be a part of all of it. Hopefully that's
Yeah.
a thing we can keep going.
Now, Normally give me a little bit of preview on that, and I was like, that can't be more perfect.
No, it worked. It was great.
That's beautiful.
I mean, I've had that thing around since we were doing the fantasy roundup. Just hoping one day that you would pop in and I could use it. And then I haven't even looked at the StreamYard setup probably over a year, but it's still there with our intro and everything. But anyway, crazy sports news. First thing, I mean, probably the biggest news in the sports world in years.
Maybe since I've ever or as long as I've been alive, or at least old enough to care one way or the other.
No, I can't think of anything that
you're talking about the
USFL,
right?
Yep, of course. All right, UFL.
Yeah, UFL. Excuse me.
No, we are talking about the one Nick Saban has retired. Whew.
Yeah, I want to hear your thoughts, Alabama fan.
Yeah.
For people who don't know, I do. I'm a Stallions fan. I definitely am a Stallions fan, but I'm an Alabama fan. And then these two, I don't know what went wrong in their raising, but apparently they like Auburn. I don't know. To each their own, I guess. But for me, I actually have a funny story of like where I was. So like I was at the gym 3:30, left around 4:00. I'm driving home, and my wife sends me not only just sends me a text, but sends me a Facebook message. So two messages on different platforms, just saying, "Are you okay?" question mark. And I'm like,
that's a scary text to get.
All this stuff's going through my head. I was like, what? And I'm like 2 minutes from the house. I don't text and drive. I was like, I'll just, right when I get in. So I got to pull in a park, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm fine. Why wouldn't I be? And then she sends back, well, Saban retired. And then like 2 seconds later, she's calling me like, are you okay? And I was just but for me, I've kind of been expecting this for the past couple years. He is 72. He just had his hip replaced a couple years ago. Like, I figured this year, I was like 99% sure if they'd have won the national championship this year, he was done. But for me, it's just really bittersweet because, yeah, I'm sad to see him go. He has been pretty much the coach for my entire adult life. I think I was a junior or senior in high school when they hired him. And so from then till now, like, it is sad to see him leave, but I couldn't be more happier for him because I know he's going to get a lot more time to spend with his family and pretty much do whatever the hell he wants. If he wants to walk into his Mercedes dealership and say, I'm the boss now, I'm running it. Or if he just wants to go to one of his houses or the house on the lake and just drive the boat every day just for shits and giggles, with his family. So that's kind of how I feel about it. And I've told y'all earlier, he deserves it and he's earned it. I'm not going to be one of those that's, like boo-hooing and crying that he's leaving. I'm not going to be mad that he's leaving, but just a little sad, but really happy for him. What about you, Kunyata?
Yeah, like you said, I'm an Auburn fan. So obviously in a small little portion of me, I was like, Oh, thank God. This has been 17 years. But no, honestly, I'm just sad about it because, like, and obviously it's a lot closer to our hearts because it's our backyard, our front yard.
Mhm.
It's our area right here, so we're a lot closer to it than most people. But just anytime you lose greatness from a sport, it's kind of like when Kobe retired,
Mhm.
you know, or Jordan retired the first time. I don't really remember so much about him retiring from the Wizards. When you didn't think that Tiger would ever play again. Uh, allusion to some of the stuff that we might talk about later on down the road. Pete Carroll and Bill Belichick getting moved, but this
Yep.
is much more monumental because I don't know if any of them have separated themselves from the rest of the class like Saban did throughout his tenure. Uh, Specifically at Alabama, but obviously had a lot of great years at LSU and had some success at Michigan State. And I think his Dolphins years, in fact, me and AJ were playing me and Santana were playing a what if game on if he had gotten Drew Brees as opposed to Culpepper just today or the other day. But my feelings are like you were talking about. I'm very, very happy for him, and I hope he enjoys retirement. I wish him nothing but the best. I've since day one. Could he be kind of an insufferable dick on his pressers? Everyone, 100%. But that made me like him, which I hate
Mhm.
as an Auburn fan. I hated that I liked him pretty much from day one, and he in respect. Like I respect the man, and I really hope him, Miss Terry, his family, everything that he chooses to do from here on out goes well for him because he talks about doing it the right way and everything. And I don't think there are too many coaches out there that have extended their hands to players that they could have like shoot out the door to the NFL or to
Mhm.
graduation or whatever, but like kept their doors open and their ears open and their phones open for these people, like line of communication that he has. So I'm sad, but happy for him.
Santana.
All right. All right. This is all right for this guy to go. I think what I've settled on is the feeling that I've settled on is lost. This guy has been, like you said, Normie, for the majority of all of our adult lives, this guy has been doing what he's been doing at Bama. 17 years is a ridiculous amount of time to be doing not only that job, but that job at that level. So yeah, I echo that. I am very sad. I'm lost. I don't know where is the North Star in college football now? Like what is the? I don't want it to be Georgia. Georgia can get effed. Uh, but there's just so much respect I have for Saban as a human, as a coach. You put him in the names or put him up there with names like John Wooden. There hadn't been anything that he's done or that anybody has done that would compare to him. Uh, Closest being John Wooden's streak at UCLA. Um, Maybe Phil Jackson's 10 championships in the NBA. I don't know. I think that he stands alone, like you said, Kenyatta, above not just in college football, but just in sports in general. Um, I mean, I used to tell people that I wanted to be him. Like when I wanted to coach, when I was pursuing that, I said, I'm going to be that guy because that guy, as much as I have hated him, like hated that he was on that side, um, you can't help but to fall in love with that character. The way, you talk about how he was at press conferences, that he could be a pain in the ass or, curmudgeon. Uh, his he still like he said what he wanted to say. He never had a problem saying what he wanted to say, and that I respect that in every human. Um, I thought, Normie, you said that you thought that it was coming soon. I also thought specifically that if he won this year, that he would be
Mhm.
gone. So it shocked me that it was just and I wish I could remember what Twitter I saw earlier where the guy said last year that it would have been some boring Wednesday, and sure enough, it's some boring Wednesday that he just decides to hang it up.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest surprise for me, though, is I thought that he would want to take a shot at the 12-team playoff. Like,
Yeah.
at that point, he would have done it at every way that you could have done it. And I just thought that maybe one more year, since they didn't finish it off against Michigan, which they probably should have. So yeah, I'm sad. I'm bummed. I thought that there was more to be had, but I'm also happy, like you said, he can spend time with his family. I imagine that he'll find something to do pretty quickly because he's him.
Oh yeah.
Um,
He doesn't seem like a guy that just sits around and does nothing.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to struggle to find work.
Yeah.
well, and I don't think that Miss Terry would allow him to do so. I think she would say, "Hey, Nikki, you need to get out of the house, bud."
Yep. But Cunyato, you mentioned when he was at Miami, and my favorite thing from his time in Miami was him making that grown man cry. Like it's Nick Saban. I mean, how tall is he? Like 5'5", 5'6"?
I think
He's not a
they
big guy.
list him at like 5'7" or 5'8".
Yeah.
But if they list you there, then that generally means you might have to take some inches off. I don't know.
But this,
He's
yeah,
not a big man.
5'6", 5'7" guy is making an NFL. I think it was an offensive lineman.
Offense
I
or
can't even
defense,
remember
yeah.
who.
But it was definitely a lineman. Yeah.
It was a lineman making him cry in practice. I was just like, that is hilarious.
Well, I mean, and some argue that demeanor is why it didn't work out there. But again, going back to had he ended up with a Drew Brees and had Drew Brees ended up being the Drew Brees that we came to know, like, I mean, we're not talking about him at Alabama. I can promise you that.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
you can blame it on his demeanor and how he treated adult males, but
But that was one of the things too that always, every year after he won a championship, it was, oh, is he going to the NFL? Is he going to the NFL? And it's like every time it was like, no, he's at Alabama. He gets whatever he wants. He can do whatever he wants. He can sign whoever he wants. He can hire whoever he wants. And if he wants to give them more money, they will give him more money. Like he was in complete and total control. Why would he leave that he had built up to go back to the NFL? That was always my funniest after national championship like storyline things that they would.
Oh yeah, the Texas storyline of the same situation. Like, is this the year that Texas backs up the truck and dumps a bunch of cash on his doorstep? That was more plausible than him going back to the NFL.
And with that one again, it was like he has all this stuff built up. He has all the money he wants. He could ask for more, and they would give it to him. Like any reasonable amount, he would get. Like, why would he go anywhere?
The only thing, and I think Deion Sanders actually tweeted about it, was like with the changing landscape of college football and NIL, the transfer portal, and all that stuff. Like, did we college football just chase the goat out because it's become too stressful? I mean, in college, yes, for a long time you've had to recruit year round. Whereas in the NFL, like, you actually get 4 to 6 weeks of like maybe true vacation where people are just sending you blurbs on free agents or whatever. In college, especially if you're a head coach at the caliber like Saban, there is no break with the way, like, it is. As soon as you get the first signing day done, you're prepping for the next signing day, which comes like 2 months later.
Well, and if it's in December and you're in the mix, like in the playoffs,
you're on a plane texting and calling and like hoping that plane's Wi-Fi is holding up to where you can talk to even more recruits to close your deals
while you're flying back to go to practice.
Yeah, exactly. Like going to fly to a playoff / championship game wherever you're at. So I do think that hell, maybe this might be the last thing, because Nick Saban is the reason for a lot of like guardrails, rules, like stuff that's happened in the NCAA. I wonder if this is his last act of like, we got to change this, and maybe it takes me, going out to get it done, because that schedule's got to be just brutal.
Well, especially in the uncharted landscape that we're at, like you said, with NIL and everything, like it's no longer just your all-time everyday recruiting. It's now something that even he has no idea what's going on, and it's constantly changing or going to be constantly changing. And all of these reasons are not only why he may have gone, but also why I do not believe that D'Amico Ryans will be heading to Tuscaloosa if he was to be offered that job.
No, and if I were D'Amico Ryans, I wouldn't. Like, you've done it. Like, you're doing a fantastic job where you're at. Just stay. You're at the top of the sport. Just stay.
Well, I mean, and if I were Bama, I would call him. But
I would call him at least. But
yeah.
if I were him, I wouldn't do it.
You guys let me know when you're ready to get started on the prospects coming up. But yes, talking about that in general. Yeah, like I would be knocking like on every door of literally every coach that you want. Make them tell you no, because look, even as an Auburn fan, we have to respect that Bama is one of the most premier programs, NFL, NCAA, doesn't matter, one of the premier programs in the world at what they do. They have been since the 30s. So I would make them tell me no.
And I guess we can move into potential prospects. Who's going to get that job? I know for a fact Dan Lanning is not, because he
That
has
was
decided.
shocking.
I was shocked too, because I was thinking, I was really like, okay, I guess I'll just go ahead and get myself ready, because everything coming out was Dan Lanning's going to get this job. The guys from the next round, was it Ryan Brown or the other guy, Lance Taylor? One of them had said something like that he had been hearing that Alabama had been setting this up for him to have Dan Lanning to eventually come. But after him today coming out,
him
pretty much
with
saying,
the hype
"No,
video,
I'm
and
here."
it's like, I'm here. Well, it's so I guess on the one hand, I'm not shocked, because he had said that already during the year. I can't remember which opening it was, but like he had talked about his commitment to Oregon. Why would I leave? I've got enough money. I don't want to raise. Like, I'm not trying to leverage this against anything. Oregon's a beautiful place. Me and my family are very happy here. All of that. Like, I believe he said that during the season this year already. But then Bama comes knocking, and that's not exactly like mama's calling, but a lot of ties to Bama, and no disrespect towards Oregon whatsoever. Bama is a different level of program. It just is. So I thought that there might be some noise, some smoke. I thought he would at least let it play out to once again garner, a little bit of uppage in the contract. Nah, man, like apparently, if I'm an Oregon fan, I'm ecstatic to have Dan Lanning. The way that he just shut it down, like, nope, that ain't me. I'm here. I was like, cool. And so now the door is open for Kalen to. We'll talk about names. You guys can throw out names that you got. Normally,
keep
maybe
going.
I
mean, that's the next name on the list, I guess.
Yeah, Kalen DeBoer's huge. Mike Norvell's huge. Those were the big three front runners that I heard. Was Lanning number 1, DeBoer number 2, Norvell number 3. I think by the time they hit number 3, if that's the actual order that they're trying to run this, Norvell does not turn it down. I can see where DeBoer might. He's not really from the South, doesn't have a lot of ties. It's going to be, and also he's, I think, in fact, I'm not even calling him, because I believe he's a little bit older. It's another thing about Lanning. He's only 37.
Yep.
I think, I can't remember how old DeBoer is, like maybe 54, 55, which is about the age that Saban got it.
And then Norvell is like 42, I think.
Yeah. So it just kind of depends on what kind of like game, long game that Alabama might be trying to play. I'm not sure, but I know those were the big three, and there's a ton of names after that like they might target. but I think that you really couldn't miss with any one of those three. I was telling Santana earlier, once again this week at some point, I think that Elko was a little too unproven as a head coach at Duke to where he would have been a surefire hit. But I bet that he's kicking himself. And don't get me wrong, A&M has all the facilities and money in the world, but I bet he's kicking himself that they got him before this happened.
Yep.
I don't know, man. That the whole thing with maybe while Lanning wasn't overly like eager to jump. Like, do you really want to follow this guy? Like, you're not going to be successful in the eyes of the standard Alabama fan, and if you don't, I think that Bama's going to be set up for a while. It's still Alabama, but the next guy isn't going to last 17 years.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's one of the biggest reasons. As I talked about DeVore not being really from the South or whatever, and not having a whole lot of connections in the SEC, like footprint or whatever. But I think that's another one of the big reasons why he seems to be just a level-headed, good head on his shoulders guy. Maybe another reason why Lanning turned it down already, because I think that is 100% going to be a factor. Who wants to step into the biggest shoes that college football has ever seen?
Yeah.
Like, who wants to be that next guy? I wouldn't.
I wouldn't either. I know our fans. I wouldn't want to either.
I'd do it. The buyout's got to be good.
No, you're going to get paid. You will get paid. You'll get paid. You'll get a lot of power.
And speaking of buyouts, that actually may come into effect on what they do as well, because I think DeBoer's is like 12 million. I know Norvell's is like 4 million. I've been looking up a lot of Norvell because that's where I see the wind blowing a little bit.
Well, how would you feel about that?
I don't know. To me, Norvell is the placeholder until they can get like the next like Lanning or somebody, or maybe if Elko proves himself at Texas A&M kind of thing. I don't know. I don't really know much about him too. I don't really know much about any of them, but I don't think I'll feel really good about anybody I hired at this, to be honest.
Well, what's funny about this too is that just a few years ago, there's like a bunch of big names at who's the next guy to take this job or this, that, or the other. I mean, we hired Harsin, and there are all these giant names out there, and I was like, hell yeah, it's so exciting. Now, and that turned out to be not true because all of these guys failed, but have not shown like they were expected to.
Yeah.
But had the Alabama job comes open 3, 4, 5 years ago, there's all these names circulating. Now there's really only like 3 or 4 real exciting names, and they're not even really that exciting. Lanning and see, that's the thing. He's in his second year as head coach, so like how we don't know things could tank. Next year we don't know.
Yeah.
DeBoer's got a little more credibility than that, but again, it's just everything's so unknown. So like, even I don't know, is there a name out there if you could just throw down like just 100% they were going to take the job? Who would you pick, Normie? Like anybody, like Belichick's out there, Urban Meyer's out there, like just anybody that you want. Who would you want?
That one,
Jim Harbaugh.
I dislike him as a person, but Urban Meyer, man, has not been unsuccessful.
He does.
Jaguars, but collegiate
college.
Well, yeah. and think about him being your stopgap, because he's going to come in there and he's going to maybe win you a championship, then have a heart attack and get out.
Yeah,
and
or
so
have a scandal,
or have a scandal. And so something's going to happen. He's going to give you 3 or 4 really solid, like amazing years, get himself another championship, somehow just still be one of the greatest coaches of all time while being whatever he is. And
Santana, that I hadn't even thought. Urban
I
Meyer
haven't
hasn't
thought of
even
that
crossed
either,
my
but that is a
mind.
It's a
great.
rental. It's a rental.
Yeah,
Like
you're just
it
leasing it.
hadn't even crossed my mind, but that actually would be kind of I hesitate to say home run, but once again, he's won national championships at both the programs that he, the major programs, and then also led Utah to an undefeated season. Collegiately, he's been successful everywhere. Was it Bowling Green, his
Yep.
first stop that he turned
Mhm.
around? I mean, I hadn't even thought about old Urban. That
But
wasn't even a name that was tinkling the edges of my brain. But
if I could pick anybody though, Kirby Smart.
oh yeah, but you're not going to get him away from Georgia.
No.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's home.
he's built his own Alabama. Like,
Right.
why would he need to
Yeah.
leave? It's like it's the Saban thing again. Like, he's got this. They give him everything. Like, he doesn't need it. He doesn't need to go anywhere.
Yeah,
But
the
yeah, if
rumors
I could
were
pick somebody, it would be Kirby Smart.
when he interviewed with Auburn, he said, "Hey, I want to do what Nick is doing down there. I need the control." And Auburn said, "Nah, we're good.
Yep.
We're good," and let him go. And just what if he had just let him do the thing? I don't know what the thing is that he and Nick have. It's two people that have it. I don't understand why they have it or what it is, but let him do it.
And
Let
now
him do
now he beats y'all like pretty much every year.
Yeah, and it's so much
Well, to
harder
be fair,
losing
that
to
started before him.
That's true. That's true. But it's so much harder to lose to him and that team than it is to Nick. That's the thing, because y'all will
Yeah.
probably thump us in Bryant Denny next year, and it'll be just some nobody on the sideline. Now
I'd
it's
be
just back
shocked
to
if it was a
Bama winning.
nobody. I'd be shocked if it was a nobody.
But yeah,
Some of these Vegas odds are weird, right? Like, didn't they have like Derek Dooley pretty high up there?
really?
Have either of you seen? I'm gonna hang on.
I've heard that they're flooding the Vegas odds, like not Dre Kirkpatrick, Minka Fitzpatrick, is on the list on some Vegas odds.
Okay.
Like,
well, never mind then. That's
they're like flooding the odds. Like, they're just making a list. Like, there's a ton of weird names floating around because no one really has a clue. Like, it's just.
I will say one name that I don't know why. There's just something about this coach, and I don't like him. And it's James Franklin. I've heard that name thrown around too, and I just do not freaking like him. The way him coming into Vanderbilt and telling all those players not to leave, that it was wrong to leave because there's a new coach, and then effing off to Penn State, and then bringing his players with him.
And then taking all the players with him.
Like, after that, I cannot stand that guy.
That man's a hell of a politician.
I think that he is the dark horse in all this. I've heard him mentioned a few times, and I think that, and Normie, just by your reaction there, I think that most Bama fans would lose their shit.
Yes.
But I think, and also I thought that when he went to Penn State that we would have seen like a lot more from Penn State by now. But I've also kind of started to lose respect for just like Penn State as a whole. So it's kind of like, I don't really necessarily think that y'all are just destined to be in the playoff conversation year in and year out. But if he goes to Bama, because I mean, just think about Penn State. What are they, like 2-3 losses a year, right?
Yeah. And it's always the big game.
It's 2 losses a year. And it's Ohio State and it's Michigan. They can't beat them.
And every year there, it's like, oh, Penn State's got them this year. And every year they get beat.
Yeah. Well, that's Penn State. What if he comes to the recently, like, Saban-less Alabama?
He last
like I just think the structure's different.
SEC
and he won consecutive 9-game seasons at Vanderbilt.
But he loses to Auburn every year.
That would be great.
Hey, Shula won 9 games, but never beat Auburn. And he was fired in a 9-win season.
I will take it.
Yeah, no. As an Auburn fan, I would love that hire. Like,
so y'all are team James Franklin now?
I don't care how many wins you get. Just, don't beat your rivals. Okay, you're not going to? Cool. Perfect. Bring them on.
The last name on this Vegas list I have right here is Billy Napier, which
That's got to be
is
the last name.
Yeah.
well,
In
yeah.
fact,
I mean,
I can't
nobody
believe he
no
made
that
the
would
list.
that's
Florida
it just
doesn't
goes
want
from
him.
no. Well, and it's funny because what I was talking about earlier about how there are all these big names. Billy Napier was like the forefront of my brain. Like he was like the coach coming out of Louisiana.
How was
And
Dabo Swinney up there? No, nobody here likes him. Even he's from here, but they still don't like him.
well, that would just be the biggest miss. If that was a real possibility, which I do not believe that it is, but if that was a real possibility, what a miss! Like
Oh, yeah.
he's not the guy that he was
Nope.
when Clemson was challenging Alabama. He's not that guy. He keeps saying things that just makes you think like you're not part of where we are in college football these days. So no, that would be the biggest miss.
He won't evolve. He will
Well-
not evolve. He refuses.
Which is what Nick Saban was the greatest at.
Yes.
If NIL and the transfer portal factored at all into Nick Saban's decision, why would you go get somebody who has even more problems with those issues?
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't make any sense. And once again, I have no clue what factored Nick Saban's decision. I don't need to know. That's his personal private matters. But I know that Dabo has pushed against this. His recruiting classes have gotten worse steadily, and his records have gotten worse steadily. He finally had an exodus of coordinators where Saban can just.
Mm-hmm.
And
And what happened after those coordinators left?
And don't get me wrong, he's still a 9-4 team. It's not a bad team. I think that he's a very good and very solid head coach. It's just he's a replacement for maybe a program where A&M is at. Although, because I think that he's a step up from Jimbo. Also, I've seen Jimbo on the list.
I was about to say I've seen Jimbo mentioned.
I haven't seen him.
Tuscaloosa will burn.
Oh yeah.
Like they will burn that city to the ground if Jimbo is the replacement.
But the funnest name on this list would definitely be Lane Kiffin. I love Lane Kiffin. I love his coaching style. Well, I love his offensive coaching style. I love all the stuff he does, like on Twitter, just trolling all the time. I love it. I do not want him as a coach. I love the guy. I love what he does, but I love it when he's doing it somewhere else, because then when it's my team and then it becomes a distraction, it's like, no. Like, I don't want to have to hate you because I like you so much. But it would be the funnest one, I think.
Absolutely. I wanted him at Auburn just specifically to see the Iron Bowl every year with Kiffin and Saban. Little did I know that was going to be short-lived regardless. I think he absolutely would be the funnest. There's not really a name out there right now, especially now that Lanning's backed out. There's not anybody out there that I just go, home run. You nailed it.
The only one I would think would be the D'Amico Ryans one.
Yeah, I mean, I think
that
so
would be
too.
the only home run if they got. Other than that,
well, one that we haven't talked about that, like, it would be tough to wrest him away. It's kind of a Lanning situation where he's got everything moving in the right direction.
Sarkisian.
But Sarkisian. I mean, I don't think that Steve would leave what he's got going on in Texas to come to Alabama, especially since they're already joining the SEC anyways. Yeah. And, no knock on Alabama, but it would just as a state, not the program, not Alabama University, Auburn, or University of Alabama, Auburn University. We don't have the money backing with our boosters that A&M and Texas do. We just don't. And so I don't know why he would leave that. But as far as support and your footprint is literally like you can get all of it, where, Austin does get Texas, which is major. I'd have a tough time seeing Sark leave Texas, but that's a name that I mean, once again, if I'm the University of Alabama, I am calling literally everybody I'm interested in.
this whole
floating it out
list
there.
minus Dabo Sweeney and Billy Napier and
Yeah.
James Franklin.
Yeah, no,
The rest of them, yeah.
I wouldn't contact those. But that's me personally. And if they get the job and end up doing great, then good on them. But no, I would not contact them.
But yeah,
well, unless you start thinking about it in the way that you're specifically hiring for only 3, 4, 5 years, like you're not looking for the long-term answer here, then you can start really taking some major swings. Bring Kiffin in, right? We're renting you. You're going to come in here again, maybe win a championship. You're going to talk a lot of shit. Everybody's going to laugh at you. We're going to be a laughing stock. You're going to lose games that you definitely shouldn't. You're going to win games that you definitely shouldn't. Yeah. And then we'll be done with you in 3 to 4 or 5 years. And then there will be that, like, the shining moment of somebody, a Kirby descendant or something like that, that they're like, that guy.
And that's when Lanning comes over. I don't know. I'm
He said, I can't get it. I can't get it done. Well, I mean, I think that he's the most exciting of the names that have come out. Like, and now that he's out of it, what exactly did he say? I know that
he put out a video and it was like pretty much like a back to work. It's 2024. He didn't. I don't think it said like, "Hey, I'm staying." I didn't really watch much of it. I just read what from the news articles. I don't think it said that, but it was like from the context of the video was, "I'm here, like I'm home.
I'm not going anywhere."
Like I got work to do.
Okay, all right. Well,
but Mike Norvell did put. They said he sent out some kind of like tweet or something of welcoming actually an Alabama transfer to and being excited about an Alabama transfer going to Florida State.
Interesting.
So some people were talking about that and saying that was, maybe a little sign as well.
I mean, we're not going to know until we know.
Yeah. But I did hear the rumor of at the player meeting, Greg Burns said it'll be 72 hours when we announce it.
I hadn't heard that.
Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but that was 72 hours yesterday at like 4:00.
Well, and I wonder if that doesn't necessarily mean that he had somebody already on the line. It could have just been like, it's going to be easy to find the dude because, but I don't know. I mean, just as if you say, all right, just take Norvell, Lanning, and I mean, that's just nothing screams like success after that, like and not that those three are really, not necessarily surefire either, but just looking at the list, it starts, after those top three go off, it's like, I don't know, man. Like,
yeah.
Well, I think you nailed number 4 with Urban Meyer once again. Can't believe I hadn't even thought about him. But
that is a good strategy.
Like,
dude,
and talking about the rental, like,
or honestly, you could tell him just, hey, we're gonna pay you a little more, but you got 1-year contracts.
Yeah.
We will renew your contract. We'll let you know.
Incentive based 1-year contracts. Yeah. Oh my God, did we just AB for Alabama?
I think we might have just fixed it.
Yeah.
Kenyatta, you got his number.
Or you give him like a 3-year contract and then you renew him for 1 year, but in that contract, it's like that's when they're like, yeah, you're gonna have a scandal, you're gonna do something stupid, and then we're gonna let you go. We're gonna let you resign.
Yeah.
And then or do the 1-year contracts and have a clause in there that we reserve the right to, make you resign.
This football script writing is not that hard. I see why.
Also, for anyone who watches this, I'm not trying to disparage them. It probably had some actual health concerns. Just a disclaimer. Don't mean to belittle that. Anybody who struggles with any kind of health issues, whether it be mental or heart or whatever he's been dealing with, but
all of it seems like a lot. I understand it's hard. It seems like the blood pumps in a different direction. I'm just talking about like,
Which direction? Which direction are you talking about?
I mean, he went north and then he came back south. is south in Florida and then, or south at Florida and south in Jacksonville. So.
Oh man, but yeah, I think that would have been that would be a crazy ride. I don't know if I'd rather have that or Lane.
Well, and again, this goes back to my feeling of lost that I was talking about. Like I know the consistency that you can look at Alabama's sideline and just know what's going on. And now I'm just sitting here thinking like, who? It doesn't matter who it is. I'm not going to be familiar at all. It's ruining. I don't know, like my childhood as an adult. Like,
Well, think of what. There's one thing I just thought of that it's going to ruin as well. All those gifts. There's going to be no more new Nick Saban gifts of
That's
him
true.
blowing up.
I
And who really blows up? Like, where's a coach that like does that?
it doesn't
Jimbo,
matter.
but he's out now.
No, there's
Yeah.
plenty of coaches that blow up, but all the other ones are like you don't respect them. Like when
Yeah.
they blow up, you're like, oh come on, get your shit together. But like, what are we doing? When Saban does, it's like, oh god, Dad's mad. Dad's mad.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Papa is angry.
yeah.
Now we have to worry.
Oh, and listen to some of his players talk, like AJ McCarron about the infamous ass slap, and Taron Arnold talking about the ass chewing that he got. You know, just like there's a respect to that person, you know, from them. Like they're like, yeah, oh my god, I think Terrion said that he was coming off the sideline. I think Mississippi State, right? Isn't that when the game that he got chewed out pretty hard
I think
for?
so.
He said he was coming to the sideline and he's like, damn, Saban's mad. He's looking behind him, see who he's yelling at, and it was him. And he's like, oh shit, that's me. But yeah, you know, like that guy like explodes, but when he does, you know that it's for a purpose. You know, he's right. You can't ever argue with Nick Saban. Like, hey, get your shit together. He's like, well, I'm not gonna tell him he's wrong on that. You know. So everybody else that blows up is like, man, who knows that guy? That guy's a maniac.
Well, and more. Speaking of like just the changing landscape of specifically collegiate football, like you see a lot of back and forth between coaches and players. Not really a thing that you ever saw with Saban. Speaking of that respect level, it's like if he's giving it to you, that probably means that you were in the wrong. You're getting got with a purpose.
Oh yeah, there's a reason behind this ass chewing. All right, and then I do want to move on before we're going to talk about Belichick later, but before we leave college football, I have a gripe.
I thought that you might.
I thought I don't. Actually, what are you guys talking about? What's right?
This right here. I'm starting to just hate these polls now. I just effing hate them.
I don't see a problem. What are you pointing out?
All effing year, we Alabama fans got told you will never jump Texas because Texas beat you on the field. And I was 100% in agreement with that. Head to head, Texas beat us. Texas does all, and if it came down to us and Texas in the playoff, I said, hey, Texas gets in. I didn't think we were getting in, to be honest. But then the AP wants to pull this crap. We beat Georgia on the field. And then we took the eventual national champion to overtime and lost on the last play of the game.
Should have beat Michigan.
But we're number 5 to finish it up. Bullshit. I call absolute bullshit on this.
They had inside information. They knew Saban was retiring. They're like, well, that's at least a spot.
I guess so. I just saw this. It was like, these polls don't mean shit. Like, they don't know what the hell they're doing.
I mean, and they don't. I mean, that's true. We all knew that just because you've rode the top 2 for the last 17 years. Like the rest of us knew those polls didn't mean shit.
I guess it is just it's my Alabama privilege.
It's that Alabama privilege, man. I don't
Yeah.
know what you're talking about, honestly, Normie. I mean, this math checks out for me. I mean,
Well, and
I don't.
how does the final AP top 25 goes? This is just how the season ended, or is this project? It's not projection, right?
No,
Like,
it's
this
a
is
voted
No,
on
this is their
thing. Yeah.
last the end
yeah.
of the season. This is how we rank
That's
it.
it. Yeah, that's the. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Georgia should have won. Like if I,
Yeah,
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Alabama should have beat Texas. I mean, they're
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
so,
It's
but we
Hey,
didn't.
if
So,
we're gonna
and
play
we was
that
head to
game,
head. We
Auburn should have beat
lost.
Alabama. If we're gonna play that game
and Georgia.
and Georgia,
But I don't know. I'm done with these damn polls now. Like the college football playoff, what the parameters change every week, and then you got this AP one that you beat a team head to head, and you're still ranked, below them.
yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, the polls have been bullshit for a long time, in my opinion. But
in our Auburn opinion.
in our Auburn opinion, yeah. Just look at site 2004. But one of the man, I completely lost my train of thought, boys. I'm so sorry.
Hey, we're over 45 minutes in, and that's the first time it's happened. So.
I know, man. That's a record. Oh, one of the speaking of polls and how it's going to be a humanistic determinant.
Remember, we're
moving
on YouTube.
into the 12-team playoffs, we're still keeping the committee, which blows my mind. Like,
what do they have to decide after 4? Like, just why would you not go back to what the BCS selection was?
This is
in that
the
situation?
very first year, I believe, and I could be wrong, but if I'm wrong by a little, not a lot. The very first year where the BCS poll wouldn't have had the exact 4 teams in different orders at different times, but the exact 4 teams that actually went to the playoffs. They were basically not copy and pasting because the seeding would have been different. This is the very first time where the BCS, between the AP poll, coaches poll, and the computer rankings, how they rank everything, where it's not the exact same 4 teams. This year it was 3 of 4, and I believe it would have switched out Texas and put in Florida State as your number 4 team. Put Texas as your 5. Florida State would have bumped into 4. So 2014 to 2023, we got 9 years of it. And 8 of those 9 years, the BCS basically already had it right. Why are we wasting our time with this committee? And now we're expanding it to where it gets even more arbitrary on the edges, and it gets even more, hazy for your at-larges, and it's still going to be a bunch of people. A lot of these people have never had any involvement with football in their lives.
Pretty sure the first iteration had Condoleezza Rice.
It did.
It did.
Condoleezza Rice was on it.
Yeah.
Which respect
I remember
to Condoleezza,
thinking,
I guess I don't know anything about why she would be.
And I got no knock on
I'm
these.
sure she's a fan. Yeah, I have no problem with these people. Just
I got no knock on these people. I'm not even knocking.
I mean,
these people.
Condoleezza Rice. Like, if I want to solve like a border dispute between like 2 countries,
yeah,
hey, I'm calling her. Bring her in. She is good.
I got her on speed dial for that.
In this room, there's gonna be a lot of issues in this room. She'll be the level head that allows everybody to come together. You know what? Never mind. I take that back. Condoleezza should have been there from the get-go.
Yeah, Condoleezza should still be there.
Yeah, you know what? Call her back. What are you doing? But I don't know. I just, at this point, all right, so we came up with the playoff because we were griping about the BCS, right? The BCS
Just because
didn't.
like it should extended to 4 because
Right.
like years like 2004.
Right. Well, just what they should have done is just leave all the same thing and done 12 initially, right? It's
Yeah.
like I don't know.
I
What
think it
are
had a
they going to
lot.
pick at this point? Like, aren't we trying to? The reason that we want a bigger playoff is to include teams that have successful seasons that don't get the same opportunities that somebody from the SEC or one of the major conferences would go. So you want everybody that was good to have an opportunity, right? So what? That was our reason for going to a playoff. We didn't need people to select the teams because it was telling us the Boise
Yeah.
States that would go undefeated or what have you. It was already telling us, hey, these last like 16 teams are pretty fucking good. Like these 7 teams, they're pretty good, man. Like, so why even go to the committee in the first place, let alone let it select what we like? The reason for this, the argument overall was presented. Why are we, I don't know, allowing humans to again screw it up? But it was working. Like, it was working. The reason that this has happened is because that strategy of poll worked.
Yeah.
Sorry if that was ranty.
No, I agree. They should have went to 12 to begin with. And I don't believe in this whole like even like you got to win your conferences or you're automatically in if you're the highest group of 5. Like, I'm sorry, but top 12. If you can't get in the top 12, I'm sorry.
Like, and
so somebody's gonna have an easy game against or maybe even a tougher game playing that like Tulane or Liberty or somebody like that.
The counter argument to how this all got started in the first place is that we don't like the human element, and obviously the BCS was a 3-part thing for AP poll, coaches poll, and then like a computer system that like just straight crunch numbers and rank them how they would, and as offensive, defensive, special teams, all the statistics plus margin of victory was a big deal then too. Mm-hmm. So if we went back to that, yes, there's still going to be 2 parts human element, but the problem with the BCS system wasn't that we weren't getting the best teams in. It was that we weren't getting enough of the best teams in.
Yeah.
Now that we're going to 12, go back to that system, put all 12, like however the cards may fall. Like, 1 year the SEC might get 6 in. 1 year the Big Ten might get 6 in. Like, yes, and it's going to be stacked and it's going to look, conference favorite-y, whatever. But just that's how people view these teams. Let's see how they play. Because like you were talking about there, Normie, like realistically, for the most part, this year has had more parity than we've had in a long, long time. But realistically, for the most part,
it's a fun year.
Yep.
Oh yeah, heck of a year. Like, because I mean, Missouri, talk about a surprise team, a team that would have been in the 12 this year. Losing 2 games, realistically, we probably should have only lost 1 game, and even that game, they hung with Georgia the whole time. So, but other than this year, for the most part, Team 12 seeded against team, because your first 4 are going to get buys. Yeah. So your top 4 teams are going to get buys. So Team 12 versus Team 5. That might play out incredibly interesting. I could see 12 taking down a 5.
Yeah.
Whoever advances through that, playing Team 1 for or I guess they play Team 4. It doesn't matter. Whoever they play, those top 4 teams are probably going to generally march through 12.
Yep.
But everybody just wants to go dancing.
Yeah.
They just want to get a shot.
Oh, and I can see, like you said, the 12 beating a 5, but are they really going to get that far after that? It would
I don't know,
one
man.
Of those.
Any given day,
It would
the
be
ball
one of
bounces
those
weird.
like Tulane Yeah, I mean, but you're talking like that one game, like the Tulane USC game from 2022, the Cotton Bowl, where it came down to the wire. Like my dad had said he turned the game off because he thought USC won, but I kept watching, and then they did all that crazy crap to come back. Like you could do that for one game. That
Boise
next
State,
game,
Oklahoma.
yeah, that next game though, you're probably not going to do that again.
Well, and
Like
the idea of a deep playoff is exciting, but I agree, Normie, because what you would want in that scenario would be the March Madness Cinderella type team, and realistically in football, especially week to week, like it. Now, I mean, you can have these crazy runs. I mean, the 2013 Auburn team was just weird shit after weird shit that allowed, that team would have ended up, playing in this, and you never know how many games you can do weird shit like that, right? So, but realistically, like you said, yeah, no, that's not going to happen. Like you may get one of those, Boise State, Oklahomas, or whatever it may be, where little dog nips the heels, but realistically, you get the one. But that's, I mean, it's still worth it, I think, because it matters.
Oh, I'm excited. What if it's a bad system? I'm excited for it because, like, let's see.
I mean, that's the thing.
Like big dog
we may not get a Cinderella that runs all the way to the top, but I bet we get one that breaks a lot of hearts along the way, and that'll be fun.
But I would say, and I'll go ahead and write it down here. At least in our first 5 years of this rendition, like going to 12. Now, I don't know how they're seeding. The conference champions are going to be your 1, 2, 3, 4 seeds, so that skews how this is going to go. But okay, so once again, take it back to your BCS rankings, because I hope that they keep actually putting out those numbers on how it would have fallen. It's going to be pretty surprising when one of those 4 teams don't win at all. Like, yes, I like the other 8 being in, but one of those 4 teams, in my opinion, is probably going to come home with your. Are they going to change the trophy again?
Hang on. What if LSU was in the playoffs this year?
It'd be a dangerous team in the playoffs.
Right. See, that's so, like, it's not necessarily, because I agree with you that, like, it has been correct that the top 4 teams, but, like, when you have multiple games, you have to deal with somebody like Jaden Daniels. And I know, I mean, LSU, I'm not saying that team would have done anything against the 4 in the top this year, but just you have a team like that where a player himself can go for 1,000 yards in a game. Like you have something like that can heat up the Giants. You and I talk about the Giants all the time about how, like, you heat up, you go into the playoffs 9-7, you win the Super Bowl against the 19-0 team. That's a very similar situation. Like towards the end of the season, you start picking up, you make it into the playoffs. All you have to do is get in there. And it's not necessarily about, like, the caliber of team versus, like, the team that just is playing its best in that moment,
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, like, heat translates through all sports. It's why in baseball I don't like, as a Braves fan, very specifically this past off season, the
Heat are a basketball team, bud.
But yeah, I think rhythm for sure plays into it. Being hot at the right time plays into everything. It's just in college football we haven't really. Now, to be fair, this 12-team playoff system might give us all of those opportunities. I'm here for it. I'm excited about it. Like, don't get me wrong, I am not detracting. I am excited and looking forward to a 12-team playoff. And you might be right, Santana, that, like, some Cinderella team can march all the way through, but the power brokers at the top, like Clemson snuck in there out of nowhere, but, like, once they were there, like, they just stay there. Like, you can generally kind of call
and
who your top 4 teams are going to be.
How long with the playoffs and with the transfer portal and with NIL, how long before it becomes much more parity? Like, we already saw this year be something completely different than what we have seen recently, but you have 12 teams. So there's 12 teams that you could take to the playoff at any time. You go, okay, well, I'm not really playing for Bama at number 4, but I could play for Ole Miss at number 9, and that team could get really hot going through. Whatever the scenario may be.
Yeah.
But just thinking about like that hot team, because I agree realistically that like Norma, you brought up Liberty specifically. Liberty will probably be one of those teams going forward. It's somebody like an Arkansas State or some of those team, Boise State in the past, like those teams that James Madison, exactly. Yeah. So like you have those teams that come through, and they may be the ones that have that one upset. But then think about just you have to from 4 to 12. There are going to be other Power 5 teams. You have again LSU, Missouri. I mean, and Ohio State. Like, where would Ohio State have fallen this
year?
Right? They would. Yeah. I think they would have been 6 or 7. Right.
Yep.
So
I think Oregon was 8.
Yeah, I mean, and that Oregon team should have beat that Washington team twice this year.
Yeah.
So, and they should have, and the first one maybe should have won by a significant amount. But you're telling me that like Washington 8 or 9 or Oregon 8 or 9 reaching those top 4 teams. I mean, that becomes a lot more interesting and a lot more fun to think about.
I agree.
And it also will definitely make the bowl games a lot more enjoyable. I will say this year's were a lot of duds. Like over the past couple of years, but specifically this year's bowl games were not very good, and they were not very entertaining. There were very few that were like, okay, this is a good one down to the wire.
Well,
go ahead, Kenyatta. Go ahead, Kenyatta.
I think that this might give them a kick in the ass to kind of start eliminating some of the lesser bowl games. Like, do we really need to see 6-6 versus 6-6? And I'm all here for football of any shape, form, or fashion. But with the opt-outs, the transfer portal, like all of that stuff happening, bowl games are becoming like, if you're not playing for the big one, then and I'm not blaming the players for this, honestly. Like, that's a good business decision for a lot of them. It's like, why am I playing at all then? And I think until I don't know how to fix that. I have no.
Well, it is a positive with the 12 team. The 12 team coming in, that's going to give you that many more bowls where they actually matter.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Like those games are going to matter, and hopefully, like, you start to eliminate, like, I think it was during the COVID year in 2020 where we had multiple bowl teams that were 5 and 7 because a lot of the other teams just opted out. Like, what's the point in doing it? And don't get me wrong, if you want to go play football and there's another team willing to play football and you're going to get paid to do it, plus the players get like swag bags and all that stuff, I don't hate that for anybody involved. It's just, as a viewer, what are you making out of this? Like, what are you like? This is boring. Like, it has become meaningless, and I don't know how you put meaning back into some of those like lesser bowls, or if you just start to eliminate them and then let the system recycle and see what may happen.
There was a petition recently. I think Bleacher Report told me about it, about having like the worst teams play each other for a bowl.
I saw that.
Yeah,
the irrelevant bowl.
Because it would have been like Vandy and Akron or something this year.
Yeah. Oh, damn, those two teams may live there.
Yeah, right.
We might see that matchup for decades.
It might start a rivalry between the two. Oh man. Well, let's move on because we're already an hour in.
Yeah, we'll go ahead.
Let's move on to Belichick. Belichick is out. So I haven't read the specifics on it. Did he just decide to leave? Was he actually fired? Like, do y'all know the actual specifics behind it?
Go ahead.
Well, to my understanding, and unfortunately, I've come to this discussion with I wouldn't even call it a half-empty barrel of rounds to shoot on this, but like from what I've read from like just snippets, they have basically been telling him if like stuff doesn't go right this year, like this has been kind of in the works throughout the NFL season, and I think that they kind of braced him for it before a week or two ago. Like he said, I don't want to be done with coaching, and then they said, well, you're done coaching here.
Yeah.
Which V and Santana have kind of talked about this. I kind of think it's kind of fucked up because a guy that to what Nick Saban has been to collegiate football, it's I think that the gap is way different from what Saban has done versus what, but not to take anything away from Belichick. It's just the difference is it's incredibly difficult to get a top tier quarterback in the NFL and win consistently with said top tier quarterback. Whereas it's very easy in the NCAA to get a top tier quarterback if you're a top tier program, but you can't just keep rotating them through the years. It's tough to sustain that. So the difficulties different, but for our lifetime, what Belichick has done in the NFL, the most comparable thing in football would be, or what Saban's done throughout these years would be Belichick. And so I thought that the man probably should have gotten to pick his spot, pick his and it might have been amicable because once again, I haven't read all the nitty gritty on it either. I don't know if we'll ever get all the details on it, but from a lot of what I've seen is they kind of were forcing him out in the first place. And I just think that that's wrong for a guy who won you 6 NFL championships. I think yes, all 6 of them came with Tom, but
well, and I could be wrong, but those 6 came with 10 top 10 defenses also. What I understand, and Kenyatta, I think that what you just said was equally what I understand, but they'd been talking about it the majority of the year, and for me, I think like yes, it's wrong that they are ushering him out or whatever the situation may actually be, but I do think that it's warranted or it's good for him. Like I think that a fresh start for him is what needs to happen. He wants to still be coaching. I think Arthur Blank, Normie, you're a Falcons guy. I think Arthur Blank, he's rumored to I think he's rumored to be pushing for Belichick. I don't know, but that had grown so stale and so just not productive in New England. You can't. It's clear. I don't know. Maybe similar to with Saban leaving, like the game's just not the same. Like, what do you need? What are you doing over there, Bill? That isn't working anymore because Mac Jones had a pretty decent rookie year, and then you turn around and give him a sophomore year where they're like the 2 people calling offensive plays or defensive people, which
it's not even
malpractice. Well,
and he had no one to throw to.
Yeah, I mean his weapons are bad. I mean, but both him, Bailey Zappi, whoever lines up under center out there, like they have just been set back so hard. I don't think that anybody there is necessarily the answer when it comes to that stuff. What those Patriot teams were so good at was taking advantage of value and drafts. You didn't not many of the Patriots of those times were these high stellar draft picks. They were they were later round gems and free agents from other teams that had kind of fallen off, and they turned them into the Patriot way and built those teams going that way. So that has gone away. Like you can say what you want to Bill or Brady, but like when you look at what was going on the team with or without Brady, or I mean even with Brady, like just the overall finding of talent, like the overall team building that had gone on there for so long had kind of dwindled. So it was stale. He needs a fresh start. Again, if Arthur Blank was interested, I think that the Falcons would be a decent spot. Obviously, He's been linked to the Los Angeles team, like the main one, like the one that everybody thinks about when they hear Los Angeles. And yeah, there are places throughout the league that he could find himself a fit. I just think that, yes, it's wrong to usher out a legend, but it's also, I think, probably best for him too.
Yeah, and when it comes to NFL, college, it's pretty big money. NFL, it's like huge money, and they don't play around with their money. So I can see why they or I can see how it happened. I don't really see the why. I still think he kind of like you give him another year or something. Like you give him a stern or like talking to like, hey, you don't turn it around this year. This is it. But this is your absolute last chance.
Well, and Robert Kraft is one of the better owners in the league,
Yeah.
so he would have been the one to. And he and Belichick have a working relationship. They have for 20 years, however long, and that's.
I hear that he does a lot of his owners' meetings down in Jupiter, Florida.
Okay, we're just gonna.
Sorry. And I'm kidding. I'm kidding once again.
No, it's out there now. Visit the press. That's how the press works, Kenyatta. Way to go. Way to go.
I'm toxic, man. I'm sorry.
But anyway, like I think that there probably was some sort of general relation to the point of Belichick being like, yeah, okay, it's not working here. Kraft being like, hey man, it's something's got to change, something's got to give. Belichick's like, all right, yeah, let me find. I mean, just clean slate. Start over. Go do your thing somewhere else. The Patriot way has now gone to kind of flatbread. Stale.
Yeah, or just Wonder Bread, generic.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And I really think. I mean, here's the thing, and I'm more interested in what happens to Bill next versus what happens to the Patriots next, because this day and age in football, we're sitting here looking, especially, all right, so the Chargers were the team that were linked to him early on. If I'm the Chargers sharing a stadium with Sean McVay down the road from Mike Shanahan, excuse me, I was thinking about Daddy Shanahan earlier today, Kyle. So you're next to Sean, you're down the road from Kyle. Are you going to deliver your young superstar quarterback into the hands of whatever Belichick just did to the guys and the quarterbacks in New England, or are you going to look for that next guy, that next Sean, that next Kyle, like find the better or the offensive mind or Mike McDaniels in Miami with Tua? Like, do you want to? Yes, 100%. Bill Belichick is inarguably the greatest NFL coach of all time. Mostly. But are you going to bring him in here with a quarterback who still has tons of miles left?
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't you, and tons of weapons on that team?
Yep.
Wouldn't you be looking for somebody more like, I think Bill Callahan's kid is since he's offensive coordinator. Brian Callahan is, he's out. Is it Ben Johnson at Detroit?
Ben Johnson at Detroit. I know he's getting a lot of runway right now. Not runway, but the height. Like,
yeah, well, he was last year, and he chose to stay with Detroit. The Panthers wanted him real bad last year, and he chose to stay in Detroit, which looked like the best decision.
A good decision.
Well, I mean, the enemy's not starting to get like finally his like true shot, because he did move away from KC. He proved. I mean, the Commanders were hot garbage, but the offense was not the problem, which is crazy because they actually had a pretty good defense too. But I mean, Sam Howell,
they did.
Yeah, Sam Howell and them like still put up all the numbers, leading the league in passing. and some offensive efficiency numbers as
I'm
well. So
about to say I rode Sam Howell this year as my quarterback for most of the year.
So I mean, like, there. But I agree with you, Santana. Like, I think it needs to be an offensive brain in
The
Los
Los Angeles,
Angeles.
the Los Angeles. Yeah.
The Los Angeles team.
I think it would be a better fit for him because I think I've seen interest from Raiders, Falcons as well, and possibly the Titans. I think that those would be better fits. If I was a Chargers front office, yeah, I'd be looking elsewhere than Bill. But going back to the just Bill getting ushered out, a lot of it was personnel. Like, he did not make the moves to get enough offensive pieces there. He was the GM. There's it doesn't happen all that often, but a coach slash GM. Why not just tell him, like, you don't get to make the decisions on uh, personnel anymore. We're going to bring in some specialists now, and you just get to coach the team. And I know that might be a slap in the face, and heck, they might have even had this conversation for all I know. But, like, is that the kind of power that he might want at a place, like wherever his next landing spot is? It's like, well, when I come in, I have been the GM for a large portion of my career in New England, so I want that kind of power again. And would that affect suitors for him? Because obviously he's going to be on the short list for anybody's job.
I don't think it would. I think that anybody that wants to hire him has their GM in place at this point.
Yeah.
And you're coming in to coach this football team.
But he did say that he would relinquish his GM duties to stay in New England.
Oh, I didn't hear that. Okay. Sorry about
I
that.
thought that's what he said, that when the rumblings were happening, that he would relinquish the GM duties and let
So it might
somebody
have
else
just been
do it.
like like Santana was talking about, like they just wanted a fresh start, and I agree with everything that you said there, Santana, as far as like sometimes it is just better for both parties to do a split and everybody gets a fresh start. There's a lot of interesting landing spots out there, though, especially with Vrabel getting fired. That was a weird one. I did not expect that.
Vrabel getting fired, Pete Carroll being ushered out also.
Yeah.
Talk about another great, now that we've brought up Saban and Belichick. I mean, Pete Carroll.
Saban's the number one coach of all time. Belichick is the number one NFL coach of all time. And Pete Carroll is also a top 10 to 15, like at the worst. Just what he did at USC to what he did.
Mhm.
Well, and that's what's so shocking about him being just, hey, and Kenyatta, you and I talked about this, how heartbreaking it was to get the update where he like really campaigned for his job. He still wanted to do the job, and they're like, we're going to go on away from you. It's like, but Seattle's right there. Seattle's right there, man. 2 almost perfect drafts in the last 2 seasons. We Kenyatta, you and I keep talking about how they're a quarterback away, and it's not even that Geno is like the problem. It's just that you are so close to. I mean, you were almost in the playoffs this year, and you have just that you have somebody to take the quarterback play to the next level. You're third still to the Rams and 49ers, I guess.
Although I'd like to be number one, but we haven't been that since we were. But yeah, no, we've talked ad nauseum about that. It's like, I don't know how you let go of a guy in his 14 seasons with the Seahawks. I believe he made the playoffs 10 times. He took you to at least 2, maybe 3 NFC championships, 2 Super Bowls, won one of them. And then this year, it would have been 11 of 14. Should have won 2. Yeah. I mean, really should have won 2. Run the goddamn ball. But I don't know, man. This is why we've hopped on. This is why we've revived Brothers-In-Flaw sports, is because these last 2 to 3 days of news, the news cycle, has been so insane that like you can't help but talk about it. It's wild. I don't think we're talking about legends here. Like
Yeah.
legends are
Yeah,
losing
I
their
mean,
jobs.
this is my favorite time of year because I love when coaches lose their jobs. Sorry to their families, but I love finding out about new coaches that I didn't know about before. And I was not expecting these 3 jobs to be the jobs that I was most
Yeah.
interested in this year.
I said out of the
So
3 of them, Bill Belichick, there's been smoke to that fire since basically the season started. Like this is your season to get it together. We're just gonna, amicably part ways. Or like, however, I don't know how it went down, but and Boston New England fans have been like, thanks for the memories, but like we're ready for the new start. In fact, I don't think that this guy's job is in jeopardy, and he's in the playoffs. But Pittsburgh fans about Tomlin have been kind of like, there's some buzz there has been for a few years. Like I'm tired of being, 8-9, 8-8, whatever. Like, and to his credit, has never had a losing season in his career, which is incredible. But yeah, I just think that once the dominoes started to fall, it's just kind of starting to knock out over every Vrabel with Tennessee, who I thought had done a really, really good job with Tennessee. And once again, maybe like Levis might not be the guy, and Traylon hasn't been the replacement that you thought they possibly could be for AJ Brown. Turns out that AJ Brown's incredibly good at his job.
Oh wow.
And
Yeah.
you're losing your offensive line slowly. That made Derrick Henry probably a Hall of Famer. Hopefully, I like Derrick Henry a lot, but it's like give him some more time to rebuild. It's like, nah, man, like fresh start. This 2024 so far has been the year of fresh start. And only one of the legends really got to walk away underneath their own power.
Yeah.
And good for him, because out of the 3, I think he earned it the most. Not
Oh,
that the
yeah.
other 2 are undeserving of it. It's just call your shot. Like this is it.
the game's a business, and he made so much business. Like I think that the other guys, it's unfair, or I mean, life's unfair. But just thinking that those 2, Belichick and Pete Carroll, would be shooed along, and it's a business. It makes sense that it's a business, but Saban was
Yeah.
like, "Hey, but it's my business."
Yes. I don't know. Yeah, I think that both of you guys have watched John Wick. Willem Dafoe is like, no, I get to go out on my own terms, where he's just getting the hell beat out of him. He's like, no, I'll go out on my own terms. Not that
I feel like that is what happened. That's more what Belichick did, was the Willem Dafoe thing.
Could be. Absolutely could be.
He just got the hell beat out of him as he got
Yeah. It's a good point.
Well, it happened to Dabo. He somehow ended up with a black eye.
Yeah, that's still a mystery. I've heard a lot of rumblings about like what it was or was not, but I can't remember what he says that it is. But yeah, that is one hell of a shiner.
It is. So, who do you think is going to replace Belichick?
Josh McDaniels.
Oh my God, you cannot give that guy another shot. And like, I got nothing against the guy, but I mean, he's had 2 opportunities.
But he loves the Patriots.
And the Patriots love him as an offensive coordinator.
Do you think they'll give Bill O'Brien a chance?
I think
once again, don't make him GM.
Yeah,
I think the most recent odds were Jared Mayo on that same staff.
Yeah. I had heard that,
but I'd also heard Vrabel, and I don't know. I mean,
you're
Jared
talking
Mayo,
about 2 like Patriot stars, homegrown boy, but homegrown as far as pros go, but like made their names, cut their teeth playing for the Patriots. I don't know if either of them. I think you were talking about Santana. Like I'd go look at what these young like.
What are all the teams doing in the playoffs right now, other than Tomlin, other than D'Amico Ryans? I mean, the guys at the top right now, especially for us in the NFC, everybody's offensive minded.
Mhm.
Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, Mike McCarthy, Boo, Matt LaFleur,
Matt LaFleur.
others.
Yeah, but
The Miami coach.
Mike McDaniels.
Yeah, Mike McDaniels.
Yes, switch it over to the AFC. You got,
Stefanski.
Yeah, I agree. And also, it's not that they're not coaching recycles. They're guys who have been like, not to disparage.
Other than McCarthy.
He is a coaching recycle. You're dead on right about that. But Frank Reich, when Philly hired him, it was like, well, but why? Like, you're bringing him into an actual worse roster than what he had in Indy, and he didn't have that much success in Indy. And now you're bringing him to Carolina, where it's like, I mean, you are on the basement level of a rebuild. Like, and obviously he got let go before the season was over. I think that teams are starting to kind of like we're talking about, like whether it's an offensive minded guy or a defensive minded guy, although it does seem to tend towards an offensive minded guy right now, like you were talking about, other than like a few exceptions in this playoffs, and we could be completely wrong in that, but just off the top of my head, seems like that. I don't want to say a youth infusion, but like go outside the box at least.
So we got a comment. Says, quote, Alabama officials are intensifying their search and have zeroed in on Eric Bieniemy. Saban's close relationship with Bieniemy has led to Bama donors strongly pushing for Bieniemy. That's why I was trying to get on the Twitter because just to see. I don't know if this is true or not. I mean, it could be. Honestly, I think I'd be fine with that.
I mean, literally just brought his name up. I mean, I don't think he's he's no spring chicken, but also we're not talking about the NFL at that point anymore, anyways.
But it could be that stopgap, and that'd be a damn good stopgap.
That would be pretty mind blowing. That's a name that I haven't seen, thought of, heard of. Like mostly for them, they're talking about collegiate coaches that are like already established at the college level. Of Bieniemy, I don't know what his involvement with college football has been throughout his career, but I know that he's been mostly NFL for the last decade. But pretty much everywhere he goes, his offense is good.
Yeah.
That
and he's got a quarterback. He would have a quarterback that kind of fits that mold of that run pass style. Just maybe if they could call more shorter passes instead of everything being a deep 50-yard bomb.
I'm gonna call a hot take right here with that just being floated out. Bieniemy becomes the head coach at Alabama, and Jeremy Pruitt becomes the defensive coordinator.
He can't coach.
Yeah, I think he's still got 2 years.
Yeah, because somebody had said that. I actually, for the first time in years, listened to Feinbaum today, and it was a mistake. But somebody, anyway. But
you don't like Jerry Springer?
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Paul Feinbaum.
But it's the callers. I can't stand it. Somebody calls in. South Carolina's going to win the national championship this year, and it's like, and Paul's just sitting there, just like I feel like he dies inside a little every time something like that happens, and he just no. I doubt that. Are just that okay? And then next caller. But anyway, somebody called and said something about Jeremy Pruitt, and then he immediately shut it down. Like he can't coach in the NCAA right now.
Yeah, no, like I think that for whatever sanctions that they have on him and restrictions, I think he still has like a year or two to serve of suspension or whatever. But we are talking about the University of Alabama and the most powerful man in college football, who, yes, is retired, but still probably has quite a large ding dong to swing if he said, you will let him be hireable.
Yeah.
He almost got that done, I believe, for Hugh Freeze when he was eyeballing him for an offensive, what do they call that
Analyst.
position? Analyst. Thank you.
6 minutes ago, Lane Kiffin tweeted a picture of the University Oxford Airport.
Oh, Lane's such a yeah.
And you don't want
it.
him, Normie? That would be so fun.
So Bieniemy has already made calls to assemble and staff, and Neil Brown from West Virginia has been in talks with Bieniemy for a potential OC position.
Who are you, John Sam? Why do we know that you know?
Yeah, how did we reach out to you? And also, thanks for listening /
Yes,
watching.
Thank you for listening. Yeah,
absolutely. Appreciate the input.
and it gave us something to look into because I didn't even think of Bieniemy, but
Bieniemy's way off the radar. Once again, I haven't even heard his name pop up this year for too many head coaching jobs in the NFL, much less Alabama. It's incredible. Either way, I do think that he deserves a shot to run a program. I think he's done a phenomenal job everywhere he's been. So, and if it's the University of Alabama, that's just going to be so weird, but awesome. They're talking about going outside of the box.
Yeah.
Okay, Normie.
Is there a quick grill in Tuscaloosa?
A what?
A quick grill?
A quick grill?
Yeah. I don't know. The only thing I'm really seeing with Eric Bieniemy in Alabama is somebody tweeted, let's see, at 6, say that I'm hearing Eric Bieniemy has been seen ordering messy fries from Quick Grill. That's the only thing I've seen. Which,
I don't know, man.
I don't know. I think that may be a joke because, Bieniemy is not a small man.
It carries a little bit of weight. Now I'd like to know how much legs this has. Golly, if what if we're on air and like breaking news happens?
Yeah,
that'd be great. The name that has floated a lot on social media over the past couple of hours is Tommy Rees.
I've heard Tommy Rees. I've heard him heavily, maybe Saban is pushing for him even.
He would be somebody worth taking having the 3 years worth of taking the fall.
Just a fall guy.
No.
As an Auburn fan, I'm not gonna lie. I'd be pretty psyched.
No,
love it.
No,
love it.
Oh no,
love it.
Yeah, let's run this. This up the middle dive play that hasn't worked all game. Let's run it for a 3rd and 5.
Oh, Normie. You don't understand. You don't understand what he was seeing.
Let's throw a deep bomb every time we pass the ball. It's got to be over 20 yards. Or don't even think about throwing it.
Let's rarely call run plays for our extremely athletic and strong quarterback.
For our quarterback, who's the fastest guy on our team.
Oh man, Normie, you don't understand ball at all, do you?
I guess not. No, I do not want him. I think
Normie really doesn't want to lose in Bryant Denny, and I feel like I think Tommy Reese would be a good, just go ahead and grease up the gimp suit to jump in.
As as a as a coordinator, he started off the year poor. It was bad, like bad. He picked up though. He got better. He started it actually like setting plays up, you know, like you're supposed to kind of do. It wasn't just let's just run this one play one time and that'd be that. We're gonna have 15 different
never heard of it.
motions, but we're gonna run it just this one way one time, and it's gonna be the dive up the middle. We're gonna have somebody come in motion. We're gonna have all this, but we're just gonna hand it off every single time. They won't see it coming.
He's a Notre Dame guy, man. Have you ever watched those offenses? That's about right.
But his play calling got a lot better. It was pretty bad during the Auburn game. He was it was pretty damn good. LSU was perfect, and so was Georgia. Like 2 perfect games he called. Now, the playoff game I kept telling my wife, like, are we not allowed to throw a ball under 20 yards? Like, because every single pass was this like deep bomb, and it's like, it's not there. Set it up. We're pounding it down their throats. Let's just keep running the ball and then play action that deep ball. Like Alabama has done and been their bread and butter, even with AJ McCarron and Greg McElroy. What was that one play? It was that they would shove the ball down your throat and then do that play action deep post to their stud receiver, whoever it was.
I don't recall.
You don't recall? Or the AJ McCarron's 99 yarder in the kick 6 game, like something like that. That was their bread and butter. Like, we're gonna pound the ball, and then we're gonna play action you deep. But they didn't even set it up that way. It was just deep pass. Oh, another pass. It's over 20 yards. Like, can't do a check down or anything. But I don't know. Tommy Reese as the head coach. Hell no. I don't want that. I'd take Bill O'Brien or something over that.
Oh, you've heard it here first, Santana. Normie is in full support of Tommy Reese taking over the helm.
Sign him up.
Go ahead and land that plane. I guess he's already there, so you don't have to. Like, he's already there. Just ceremoniously put him at the tarmac in Tuscaloosa, land a plane next to him, and then he can just Uber home.
Now, here's the scenario I actually did just think about, because I thought, okay, if you did give Tommy Reese a chance, that 1 year, we go back to that 1 year contract thing. What if they do the whole interim thing? Could you see them doing the whole interim thing and being like, you know what, this year's kind of pool is not what we want. We'll hand it over to Tommy Reese and say, your interim head coach. He's a young guy, like. And just say, do you want to do it or not? There's a it's your year-long, job interview.
Yeah, it would be a bold
do you
strategy.
think he would take the gamble
and it would
on
go
that?
Like a fart in church for the Alabama fans. He would take that deal. He would take that deal in a heartbeat, but it would go over like a fart in church for the Alabama fans. Like, they would hate it.
Hey, Ole Miss did it, and of course they hired the wrong guy. But they ended up hiring was it Luke or whatever?
Yeah, Matt Luke.
And they ended up actually hiring that guy. Hey, it got LSU a national championship.
That's not a bad point, actually. I don't feel the same energy from Matt Reese as one would from Coach O, but that's not a bad point, because he's going to have this recruiting class, whoever stays, and then the roster overall anyway. That's not a real bad point.
It would keep familiarity with who they have.
Wouldn't you rather go T-Rob over Tommy Reese?
I'm hoping that he's about to be Auburn's offense or defense coordinator.
I mean, with Kevin Steele also retiring, talking about like this mass exodus of like people who've just been
Yeah,
in and around the game for
man,
so
he's
long. Like T-Rob seems like, I mean, he's already a defensive-minded guy anyways. Like, doesn't he fit the bill? And he's been with Alabama for longer. Doesn't he fit the billing more than Tommy Reese?
It's going to be hard to do so when he's defense coordinator for Auburn.
It's only 3-hour drive, two and a half and some change.
Or maybe they'll make Reese interim, but then like have Jeremy Pruitt. He's just on the sidelines, you know.
Yeah, he's
He
just
doesn't have
an
a
analyst.
headset.
Yeah.
He's not. He's just on the sidelines, and he may be yelling out things, but he's just cheering, right? He's not officially being paid by Alabama, but you know, this company wants him to do commercials for him for them. So they give him, $2 million to do commercials, and then he stands on the sidelines.
Oh, man, you're explaining NIL exactly as how I understand it.
Yeah. But they do it for a coach that's not, eligible to coach. Who knows? Hopefully, though, when do y'all think it's going to come out? Any of these, like, Saban, Belichick, like, when do y'all think we'll get any kind of news?
I think with the University of Alabama, it's going to come out. I would be shocked if it was more than like a week. I think it would happen within the week. And that's just because college can, I think, process that a lot faster, whereas the NFL has a lot of rules and regulations as far as like their interview processes.
A lot of them are still playing too.
And a lot of them are still playing. A lot of them might be coordinators or positional coaches on playoff teams. Whereas, I mean, especially if they actually are targeting, if John Sam is right, if they're targeting Bieniemy, that could come out tomorrow. Now that he's thrown it out there, I'm here for it. That would be awesome. Like, but for all the NFL openings, I would be shocked if we heard much within the month. I mean, you're probably gonna hear some buzz and whatnot, but once again, they've got to go through a lot of processes before they can make any moves in that regard, anyways.
Yeah, I was thinking like, I think the Alabama one, it's either tomorrow or Tuesday, because Monday is a holiday. So tomorrow, I don't think they would announce it during the weekend. So
no, they're going to announce it when they can get the most press for it.
Yeah,
like they. In fact, I would be kind of shocked now and actually thinking about it that tomorrow's a Friday. That's generally when you dump your bad news. And like Sundays, Mondays, and early Tuesdays
to go into the weekends
is
and
where you
nobody's
dump.
watching it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like so you can cycle your news through. And I think Alabama and their PR people are smart enough. Like when they make their hire, like they want it like to be a splash hire and like all the press that they can probably get for it. Just for no other reason than fan backing.
Well, that, and then you got, people going to the office the next day talking about it, and then all that noise that generates from there. So
yeah, there's definitely that, and then whoever gets hired, I mean, especially in this day and age, it's a proven fact they're also going to have to do throughout this transition a bunch of negative press releases on the exodus that is inevitable of players. Like that's just going to happen. It happens every time a coach is moved. It happened before the transfer portal. Now we've just really greased the wheels for that to just be the norm.
Made it a lot easier. Put an express lane in.
Exactly. So that will happen. Hopefully, even as an Auburn fan, hopefully it doesn't happen to terrible, like terribly high amount. I would like to see Alabama stay competitive. Alabama and Auburn, just like me and Santana are Rams and Niners fans. The rivalry is better when both teams are good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it definitely is. Like, look at 13. I mean, that was a
Now, I
good
do think that you guys have had enough time in the sun to shine, and now that old Saint Nicholas is leaving, maybe give some of that sunshine to us. But
well, that's when that's what I was talking with my wife and I was joking like and doing that. Oh no, we suck again. Because I was there for the Bose years and the Mike Shula years. Like those were rough, and I don't want to have to go back, but I'm preparing myself for it.
I don't think it's going to get that bad anytime soon, at least.
No, I think the infrastructure is still laid. Like the facilities are great, and yes, I don't think that either of the Alabama, and I could be completely wrong. I mean, there's a lot of shadow brokers out there. I don't think the Alabama schools can compete with some of the people like Texas and Texas A&M specifically, but I think that they've got the infrastructure. Their facilities are top notch, probably second to none in the country. They've got a ton of talent. Hopefully, they can talk into staying, and then the fan loyalty is second to none. You guys hear Buster?
Oh yeah, Albietta said no better football than the SEC. Speaking of my wife, rivalries are strong. Well, Buster is kind of whining, so it sounds like he probably needs to go out. And it's actually a little past 9:00, so maybe next week we can get into NFL playoffs.
Please, let's do it.
All right, hold on. Just a real quick rundown.
Okay.
Just like we don't have to discuss the games. Just off the top of your heads, we'll make our picks. I'll try and write them down. On the AFC side, you've got.
I do want to mention one playoff game.
Okay.
And it does come from the AFC side. And the only reason it is very interesting to me, it's the Florida team, the Dolphins, are going to Kansas City. Have y'all seen the game time temperature?
It's supposed to be like -7 or something like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
The game when the game starts, it's going to be 2 degrees.
Yep.
So let's see how that one plays out. That field is going to be like concrete.
Well, and that's what they get for not being able to. I mean, it was served up to them. All they had to do was beat the Bills.
Yep.
Hey, between them, the Eagles, the Jaguars, like watching teams that have been touted the whole year as top 10 teams come just stumbling, bumbling. The Jags did it so hard they knocked themselves out of the playoffs. It was pretty insane. And then watching some of the teams, I'm a Rams fan, just steam up, get ready. Like second half of the season was Bills. It was. Speaking of parity, the NFL's always got more of that than college. Not maybe this year excluded, but generally the NFL and its parity. But this year, watching teams, the collapses versus the come ups was pretty fucking incredible. Steelers, as far as the come up as well, like they fire Canada, they lose Kenny Pickett to injury, they start Mason Rudolph. We're all like, well, this can only go poorly. We've watched this man play before, and he's not good. And then their offensive numbers are better than they've been in years. So, the NFL has been a wild ride this year. But anyways, I just wanted to get picks before our first weekend started. So we've got Cleveland at Houston.
I'm going Houston.
I want so badly to go Houston. I want so. I love D'Amico and I love that team that he's assembled down there. But I think that it's probably Cleveland. That defense is insane.
I I'm kind of with you, Santana. I think that defense is going to be a little bit too much to handle, and for whatever reason, Joe Flacco is now 24 years old and in his prime again. I don't know why, but so I also would go Cleveland. Okay, so yeah, you got Miami at Kansas City.
KC.
It's hard to pick against KC
Yeah.
in that weather. I mean, especially with what the Dolphins do. But I mean, the run game's strong too. I don't know, man. I think the Dolphins are an overall better team, but I'm going to go Kansas City.
That's going to sweep the board. I'm also going to take KC on that.
So Dolphins win.
I'm actually going to star that column on that one. And then we've got Pittsburgh going to Buffalo, which I imagine can only also be miserable weather and probably a snow game, given the cold front that's hitting the country right now.
Yeah, I'm going Buffalo.
Yeah.
As another sweep, Buffalo just got way too hot. They look like the AFC version of the Giants from a little while ago.
But but in saying that, you're just talking about the bad weather, and I mean, it's not like they're running. I mean, James Cook has been great this year. It's not like the running game is fixed by any means. Not that. I mean, Pittsburgh goes up there and doesn't turn the ball over and runs the ball well. I mean, I could see an avenue for Pittsburgh winning that game.
Wouldn't shock me.
Yeah.
I think that Buffalo just got, and they're both hot. They're both on heaters. Both teams are actually
and not one of these things is not like the other. I would
agree
definitely say that Buffalo is hotter for sure.
I agree with that. But
and it is the heat that makes me lean Buffalo. But I could
so
definitely
hot right
see an
now.
avenue.
It is Josh Allen that makes me lean Buffalo because Pittsburgh's
Yeah.
going to be rolling in there with a BB rifle in comparison of talent versus a A1 Abrams tank. Okay, so in the NFC, we've got Philly going to Tampa Bay.
You know, I love Jalen Hurts. I love Jason Kelsey. And I really like that Eagles team. But I think Baker pulls it out. And I think Baker Mayfield and they win.
All right, Normie.
I think Tampa Bay takes it.
Okay.
This one's difficult because I think that like my gut tells me Tampa, but Sirianni coaching for his job allegedly in this situation.
Another crazy thing, like
somebody
who literally went to the Super Bowl last year.
But they just did that with Doug Peterson. Like
absolutely,
they just did that, you know. I'm gonna go Philly for this one. I think that they get it right against Tampa. I'm pulling for Tampa. I would rather see Tampa win that one as a 49ers fan.
I was about to say I'm the opposite of you. I'm pulling for the Eagles, but I think Tampa's going to win. The Eagles they have just been crapping the bed lately.
Oh, no doubt.
We broke them, bud.
Yeah, I was about to say, y'all broke them.
That absolutely you did. They're like 5 of the last 6 games, I believe, have been losses since that game. Or I guess maybe y'all are part of the 5. I don't know, but it's been rough. I'm going to go Philly for talent disparity alone. Tampa Bay, good for them. Baker, good for him. It's just their comeuppance. They're like or upcoming, not comeuppance. They're upcoming into the success that they had this year has shocked everybody. They were probably 50-50 picked to be dead last between them and the Panthers in their division. They end up winning the whole damn thing. And Mike Evans is playing classic Mike Evans ball. Not that his numbers have ever dropped, actually. If you look at that over the years, it's neither here nor there. It's just 11 on 11. Philly, I think, is just too talented top to bottom. And the weather's not going to be all that bad because it's Tampa Bay. He said, not actually knowing what the weather's supposed to be in Tampa Bay. You got the Rams going to Detroit.
Really excited about that one.
Detroit's too hot right now.
All right, we got Normie on Detroit.
And I'm not doing it just to mess with you.
No,
Like, it's not one of
I
those
didn't
things.
take it that way.
Like,
I didn't take it that way at all.
I actually will say the same thing, but for the Rams, I think the Rams are too hot right now. I think that this may be the best game of the weekend.
oh yeah.
I look so forward to Stafford returning to the Silverdome. I love that Goff is the quarterback over there. Like
I know
there's
the
so much.
storylines.
The storylines in this one are the best. I think both teams are hot. I think that normally I've told Kenyatta this a bunch here lately. I think that Detroit actually vastly overachieved this year. I think that to win 11 games, I think that they have so many problems and issues to fix that if you had told me they win 9 games this year, I'd go, yeah, that's a good season for them. But here they are winning the division, winning 11 games for the first time in a long time. But the Rams, man, I'm forced because of this nerd over here that I am crammed with Rams information. I think that team is
games.
so. Oh man, and I think that team is extremely hot, and actually the team that I fear the most is a 49ers fan. So I'm gonna go with the second team in Los Angeles.
Oh yeah, it's a great dig at the end. I'll give you that. I almost want to not pick on this one, but since we're doing it, I will. I want to not pick because I don't want to give Juju in any direction. But take
You
off
can't
my
Kurt Herbstreit this.
I really do think that the Rams have played some of the more complete football down the stretch that we've seen. Their young defensive players seem to be rounding into form. My worry is that Detroit can attack you with Amon-Ra St. Brown. Josh Reynolds has come into his own. There's just a lot of weapons, and Dave Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, and they're finally seem to be utilizing Jahmyr Gibbs in the correct way. So obviously very scary against a very young defense. But I got to kind of go with Santana on his analysis here. I would feel way better if it wasn't in Detroit, but I'm still going to go to the Rams because it is a dome still. Matt Stafford is obviously incredibly used to playing there anyways. Obviously, a lot of chips on the shoulder. I think that it hopefully it's more like a gentleman's game, like tip of the cap, a lot of sportsmanship, but it wouldn't shock me if this game got incredibly personal. Given the trade that happened to go get Stafford, but I'm going to go the Rams. And then our very last one, we've got Green Bay at Dallas.
Fuck Dallas.
I'm so shocked, Santana. I didn't know that you felt this way.
You mean that everybody that's not a Dallas fan feels? That's how we all feel.
So I'm getting Dallas as the Alabama fans of the NFL.
No, I know plenty of Alabama fans that I enjoy.
Agreed. Yeah, is it annoying that you guys constantly get to brag? Yes, but is it annoying that you guys constantly brag? First off, you don't do it all that often. Well, some of you.
And also, you have something to brag
about.
about.
You're bragging.
You're
backing it up.
No player that played for 4 years for Nick Saban didn't win a championship. It's that you can brag all you want to about that. Dallas is just let's not even talk about Dallas. Let me just tell you, I do think that Dallas probably wins this game. The offense is amazing. They're playing at home. That's the only place they can win, apparently. I love what the Packers are doing this year. Jordan Love, God bless him. You come in and follow. For Aaron Rodgers, Packers fans, you spoiled nerds, go from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers, and now Jordan Love has put together a season that should have you looking excited for the future or looking forward to the future. I just don't think. I mean, they're not healthy. Really, the fact that they're at where they're at right now is just a testament to that team overall. They're super young. I think that the future of Green Bay is super bright. But I think Dallas wins this game, even though I will borderline wear a Packers jersey for this one. I would love to watch Dallas drop this one.
Well, I'll probably take the Cowboys only for one reason. Because the Green Bay Packers are too scared to play my boy Alex Magoo. That's the only reason that they were going to lose. No, yeah, the Green Bay is looking great right now. I mean, no, not Green Bay. The Cowboys are looking pretty good right now, so I'm gonna have to go with them. Uh, Jordan Love's a little inexperience. Dak's been there, so as long as he doesn't have his off
Cliche
Dak
Dak games.
game,
Yeah.
then they should be fine. And even if he does have an off Dak game, I think they end up taking it.
This is where I will actually diverge.
Hell
Santana,
yeah.
me and you have actually been exactly the same on every one of our picks. Normie has agreed with us on KC and Buffalo. But otherwise, we are actually the exact same. This is where I'm going to diverge.
I love it.
Because
Somebody's
first
got to.
off, I want Green Bay to win, and I'm not a Green Bay fan either. Green Bay and me have a complicated relationship. I don't like Dallas either, but
You can say how much you hate them. It's okay. This is a safe space.
I've seen Dak crumble in these moments way too much. And nothing. I like Dak. I like Dak a lot. I hope he has a happy, healthy, and successful life. It's just how many times have we played this story? Maybe not as them as the number 2 seed, but how many times have we played it throughout a big game scenario where he just disappears, other than against sometimes his NFC East opponents, where yes, and Miami, like, don't get me wrong, he's got some big wins to his name, and the fact that I don't know, I think Green Bay just got a little shit in their neck right now.
I'd love to see it, dude.
So I'm gonna go Green Bay on this one, but otherwise, yeah, you would. So, do you guys want to hear the recap?
Yeah.
Okay. So our recap, just for listeners, Normie's got Houston over Cleveland. Santana and I both have Cleveland over Houston. We all have Kansas City. We all Kansas City over Miami. That is. We all have Buffalo over Pittsburgh. That is, or not. That is. And then we Normie's got Tampa Bay defeating the Eagles. Santana and I have the Eagles. Normie's got Detroit. Santana and I have the Rams. And then Normie and Santana both have Dallas, and I've got Green Bay. And once again, I've got it written down so we can revisit it. So when we do the next round of the playoffs, hopefully next week, we can talk about where we were wrong, where we were right, and obviously the divisional round is where, like, it's nut cutting time, anyways.
Well, call up Matt LaFleur and tell him to start Mr. Alex Magoo. And speaking of Magoo,
man, I buried that number, but I got you, Norman.
You got it on a sticky note somewhere. Like, I gotta find it. But we were going to talk about the new UFL, the merger between the USFL, XFL. But I think we're a little over time right now. Maybe we can pick that up next week because there was just so much coaching news and so much to discuss there, and it was really good discussion.
Yeah. Well, I think we had to do our due diligence for Saban. I mean, we could have done the whole show on Saban and Saban alone. I mean, he really does mean that much to not just, our area of the country, but to what he's done to not just even college football, but, obviously college football, just football alone. Just the most adaptable coach in history. And also he seems like a good dude. He's got a low-key great sense of humor. Yeah, I could have talked for 2 hours and 4 minutes about Saban by himself. and he deserves it.
Oh yeah, he does. All right. Any last thoughts, Santana?
I just to echo what Kenyatta said, I think that was a good time. But yeah, I mean, if we want to rewind next week and talk more about Saban, like it just there's plenty to say. Just as you were talking about that, the impact overall, like not only on football, but his impact on the city of Tuscaloosa, his impact on this state. It's just insane. It was a while. I remember, or just yesterday, sitting on the couch. Easy there. We don't use those words around here often. But just sitting on the couch yesterday watching the next round guys, just it was like a president had passed or something. Just
Yeah.
it was a milestone. It was so weird. It's very surreal to sit there in it and to have watched, to witness from day one to now at Alabama. It's been a ride, and even as an Auburn fan, how just impactful that person has been in our lives as adults. It's pretty wild, and just to for him to be hanging it up, it's we knew it was coming, but just still extremely shocking, extremely sad, and all the salutes to Coach on that one.
Yep. And I think I was more surprised that I figured if it would happen, it would have happened like the day after the Rose Bowl. But to wait till after the national championship, that's why it was more surprising to me. But anyway, like I said, we've had a great discussion. Saban, Belichick, our playoffs things. Hopefully, we can get back next week. Maybe same day, same time. But just if you're watching now, thank you for watching. Thank you for commenting. If you're watching the replay, thank you, and also hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up button, helps us out. Smash it. What are they? What's that, Mr. Ballin? Like chop it in half. He does all that stuff. But hit that like button, and yeah, I guess we'll see y'all next time. So
We'll see you
See y'all.